Welcome to The Truth in This Art. I am your host, Rob Lee. Thanks for listening, sharing, and subscribing to this podcast. Today, we're exploring the resurgence of Artscape with the interim CEO of Baltimore Office of Promotion and the Arts, BOPA. Creatively, my guest's background includes public relations and film production. Please welcome Todd Yuhanick. Welcome to the podcast.
Also great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. And as is the course of a lot of these conversations, before we get into sort of the meat and potatoes, I don't know if there's a vegan equivalent for that, but before we get to the meat and potatoes of it, the major themes of today's conversation, I want to open it up and give you the space to introduce yourself, because I think there's a lot of power in that. People may introduce me and I'm like, I don't use the term podcaster. I use, storytelling wizard, and they wouldn't know that unless I'm able to do it. So I want to give you that space, and I have a second follow-up question, but I at least want to start there.
Yeah, my name's Todd Yuhanick. I am the interim CEO of BOPA. Been on the job about 3 months. My career's had some winding paths to get here. I started in finance and then started working with my family business with my father, a PR and advertising agency here in Baltimore. And we got to work together for 7 years before he passed away. So just awesome things to be able to have that experience to work with family. I ran it for another 8 years and really enjoyed, got to know Baltimore from healthcare marketing to hospitality, fundraisers, events, all those sort of things. And about 7 years ago, I was presented with the opportunity to help produce a film. And from that, just discovered the filmmaking process and how much I loved it, and went on to make 3 or 4 documentaries and quite a few TV pilots. And so I was always on the producing side. Yeah. And what a producer really does, that's what I ultimately think one of my strengths is the ability to connect the artist with either the funders or the distribution side. It's being that conduit, that megaphone, that person that can see both sides. So I think that's what really drew me to the Baltimore Office of Promotion and the Arts position, because it's really being that connector between the artist community and either, getting into galleries, getting funding, doing the little things that help, get the word out, make it possible for artists to succeed, tell the great stories about the city. So that's a little bit about me. I mean, I'm so happy to be at this position. It's challenging, but I'm really confident of where we're in the direction we're headed.
That's great. And thank you for that. I appreciate you making that point about sort of the producer and that conduit portion of it, because I think a lot of times, you'll have sort of the, and I can be a person that speaks on it in the sort of spot that I'm in, where you're looking for funding, you're looking for those opportunities, and you're like, all right, am I speaking the wrong language? Am I speaking something completely different? But being able to connect to folks and having sort of that understanding of, this is, we'll take your thing and craft it and inform it in this way that it's packageable. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think it is too, and I think it's listening to what the artists ultimately want and helping them present it in a way that's palatable or packageable, as you said. And so I have experience in doing that and have played on both sides of the fence, so I think I can understand it a bit.
So this is the sort of sub question I have for it. What has been your highlight of 2023? Now, granted, I know that we're wrapping up the summer as we're talking, and it's technically wrapping up the summer as we're talking now, but what has been the highlight or what have you? It could be like, hey, this movie that came out was really fire, or what have you. What is sort of the highlight for you? Mine's is going to a Beyonce concert. I went to Renaissance, which was great.
Oh, that's amazing. I kind of think the highlight for me was we do something called the Sondheim Prize. We give local artists a $30,000 prize. And it really spoke to what Baltimore Office of Promotion and the Arts does. It empowers artists to really define their craft. And so often we're thought of as the largest, festival. We throw world-class events in Baltimore, but we really do touch, local artists in an impactful way that I hope you'll see some of these go on and become internationally acclaimed stars. And that I didn't really understand that was a program we had. So getting to experience that for the first time and then watching these artists grow from that. I'm excited for that opportunity, and it just made me really excited about saying, yeah, this is where I want to put my stake in the ground and do this job.
That's great. I've interviewed 3 winners, including last year's winner, and I was able to be there when the announcement was made last year. So this year just scheduling, but yeah, it's definitely something that's really cool, and it really helps folks, like, you know, having that sort of chunk of funding to really explore and extend what you're doing. I think it's a lot. It's great.
Yeah, we've got to realize, you know, the arts community is a creative class. It's this, you don't. I hate that. You know, artists need to get paid. We need to encourage this career path. And I don't care if you're, you know, I look at artists from all different walks of life. Whether you're a chef, you're a fashion designer, you're a visual artist, you're a DJ. I mean, a photographer. We've got to celebrate all these great artists that make Baltimore what it is. And so I don't want that term starving artist drives me nuts, because we don't want starving artists. We want fulfilled artists that want to do work, that have the space and the financial stability to do the work that makes the world go round.
That's great. So speaking of the art, I got to shift into sort of the elephant in the room, as it were. So for folks that are unfamiliar, undipped, if you will, can you just tell us what Artscape is? It's coming back.
Yeah, Artscape is coming back. Artscape is the largest free arts festival in the U.S. East Coast. You know, I think that's a little bit debatable, but it is a massive arts festival. It started in 1982, and it really celebrates all types of art. It brings people together. It's the cultural hub of the artist community in Baltimore. It gives opportunities for both public art, to sell your art. We have emerging artists. It's really a weekend filled of music, art, food, and fun.
Thank you. And we're going to definitely dive in a bit more. So, you know, as we touched on a moment ago, it's back, right? So obviously there have been, you know, changes. Could you speak on some of those changes, and, you know, such as like when it's held, or some of the challenges in bringing it back in this sort of this iteration? Like I believe the last one was 2019, and we're coming back now in 2023. So, you know, talk about that a bit, some of the challenges in bringing it back, and, like, you know, some of those changes, and trying to balance and maintain sort of the iconic status. You know, you talk about something that started more than 40 years ago, and bringing it back with the sort of new normal and, you know, 2023 sort of eyes and approaches.
Yeah. So we are coming back after COVID. It was a long time coming, and we've moved out of the traditional dates of the third weekend in July. And there was a study done before I came of all the stakeholders, and they looked at you know, attendance was starting to wane a little bit, and a lot of it was blamed on the heat. So they looked at a new date in September. Well, that is. I'm really excited about the September 22nd date, but there are some unintended consequences of that, and that is schools are back in session. MICA's back in session. It's MICA's Parents' Day weekend. UB's in session. While I think it's a really great opportunity to have the youth, the artists, the young students involved, there's some operational challenges. We also have some other cultural organizations in the area where we typically have Artscape, and that is the BSO and the Lyric, two of our most prized possessions in Baltimore. And the BSO's galas that night, so Saturday night, and the Lyric has sold out shows all weekend. So it is going to be the center of Baltimore's art culture that weekend. But to that end, it's made it a little bit more challenging, just logistically. But we're a city, so big cities can do multiple events at once. And we've worked tirelessly with the mayor's office, Department of Transportation. Eric Costello's been a massive help in organizing the logistics of this. So it is coming back. It's coming back in the same footprint. But what we've done to help alleviate some of that all the people, all the traffic is, we looked at Station North and north of North Avenue as an economic, we want to help it economically develop. And so we have a second main stage called North and North that will really be the focal point of Saturday evening. And so I'm really excited about what's going on in North and North.
No, that's really, really big. I mean, this podcast was born in Station North, and I do a lot of my creative stuff there. So it just makes a lot of sense. And, coming back and being and having that as a focal point is super important, because it's the first arts district. And if the first arts district is sort of having some of those challenges that are brought on with, just different things that have happened post-pandemic and so on, in terms of, things being open, events and so on, but being able to intentionally say, we're going to put our stake here, and this is now going to be one of the landmarks to spread out this footprint, I think it's going to be huge.
I do. And what I'm really most excited about this Artscape is its lasting impact. Yeah. The weekend's going to be amazing. But you're going to see a transformation on Charles Street, north of North Avenue. We have muraling going on. We're creating an Artscape pocket park. We are just doing things that will be felt much beyond a weekend in September. It'll have transformational power into the future.
So in that sort of sense, I'm hearing the transformation, sort of thinking ahead, and the sort of the comeback year narrative. What were some of those ideas and themes that kind of clicked in terms of planning out, like, who was going to be involved, what artists were going to be reached out to, some of the criteria in picking who was going to work there? I even see sort of this spotlighting of hip hop's 50th anniversary. So speak a bit on some of the curation and some of the themes and the production that goes into putting this in, because it's a lot of work, as you touched on.
It is a lot of work, and we take the work so seriously. I mean, I think that 1,100, maybe 1,190 applicants across all spectrums, and every process is juried, blindly juried. So, think about a festival like this. A vendor just doesn't fill out a form and we got them. It's peers review them and rank them, and we do it just like we would do grants on our artist award. So I actually had no idea that process happened. So it is, like time-staking process. The other thing in bringing it back is we really wanted to highlight Baltimore in the area. I think 90% of our food vendors are within Maryland. So we're trying to celebrate Baltimore and Maryland, giving. What Artscape really does is it gives an artist a venue, an avenue to show their work. And we really want to make sure that the Baltimore creative class, gets to utilize Artscape and it doesn't become so much a national type festival. So we really, really were intentional this year about making it local and celebrating Baltimore.
So the artist market, in the the B23 exhibition. So, those are also, I've seen as sort of highlights, and, bringing and celebrating and spotlighting Eugene Coles. Talk a bit about that.
Yeah, we just really want to find the best and brightest and the up and coming local artists that we're proud of as a city and give them the opportunity. I know how much it means to people to be a part of this festival, and I can't wait for the 22nd.
That's great. That is great. In previous years, what did you enjoy most about being around? Going back a moment, you talked about sort of the logistics stuff and, all of the different events that are happening around that time. And I was kind of thinking the same thing, when I go to New Orleans, when I go to Philadelphia, when I go to DC, they're able to kind of house multiple things and sort of make that work at a time. And I would imagine, if you have folks that are visiting their children who are at MICO or at UB or have you, they should be able to pop over and check out, oh, this is what's happening. And it kind of helps with some of the narrative and storytelling around how Baltimore's perceived maybe outwardly.
I couldn't agree more. I kind of think about, Saturday night when the BSO gala and everybody's in black ties at the tent with the governor, and you have Micah and you have the lyric, and it'll be lit up, and we have light shows. There'll be a sense that Baltimore is really back, and it's this mixing of all these different communities in the Mount Royal area that will really feel like, wow, just proud to be back in the city again. And so I just even think about the kids' college experience when you bring, Micah doesn't have a football team. It's not homecoming, but this is kind of like a little homecoming. You come down to just a wonderful weekend of arts activities. Like, how cool of an experience is that going to be for the parents?
Yeah, it's creative homecoming,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's one of those things that for a long time, I think some people really didn't appreciate it or sort of took it for granted, and it being gone and people recognizing like, oh, it's gone for a bit and now it's coming back, and it's had sort of the different stories and different weeks of, this person's going to headline and then they're not going to headline, and, sort of all of these different things. Could you speak on that? Because, having big musicians, and you touched on it being, a weekend of like music and a weekend of art and so on. So obviously, people are looking for that as well. Who's headlining, who's coming, and all of that sort of stuff. And there's been a lot of, changes and reorganizations that I would imagine has made the logistics stuff even more of a nightmare.
I actually was talking to the mayor this morning about this, and I don't know. The music world has kind of changed recently. We've seen across the board shows get canceled at an alarming rate. And to that end, I don't know if it's just me, but I've noticed more concert in Baltimore in the last 6 months than I've ever seen in my life. It literally feels like there's great shows are in and around Baltimore constantly. And so, we work diligently and tirelessly to provide the best artists that fit the theme, the narrative, the essence, the kind of ethos of what Artscape is. It's not everybody. It's got to be the right person that has a mix that's broad but can draw. And so it's just a process. And unlike, we're not booking M&T Bank Stadium. We're booking the little hill by the old train station. So it's not as easy. The sound is different. There are just a lot more things in play when you book up a one-off festival like Artscape than if I was Live Nation booking, M&T Bank Stadium or Merriweather every weekend. So it is a little bit challenging, but we work through it, and we've got a great lineup that I'm super excited. It's diverse. I think it really will appeal something for everyone.
Yeah, I think in it there have been folks who are just, it's a running bit, that's like, what's going to happen this week? And, at times I'm like, all right, they'll figure it out. That's literally what I think all the time. I was like, they'll figure it out. It's going to get figured out. That's the only thing that really can happen. And, there is this sort of sense that I've noticed two things probably over like the last 6 months, just generally with like arts and culture and how like Baltimore is represented. I feel like these sort of tried and true sort of institutions that are connected to Baltimore are kind of finally acknowledging Baltimore despite being here for so long. One that comes to mind because I have ties to it is, the Orioles back in the day. I worked there when I was in undergrad, and now I go there and I've been to more games this year. And I always say like, look, I liked them when they were bad. They're good now, but I liked them when they were bad. And I remember going to games and seeing like folks for the City Connect jerseys, and then kind of going through Where's Waldo style. Like, I've interviewed most of these people. I was like, that's wonderful. And hearing folks actually talk about the arts and culture here, it's very interesting. It's a very sort of come up. In addition to the comeback or this sort of renaissance, but also it's like, this has been here for a while. Like, club music has been here for a while and it wasn't getting its due. And now suddenly it's like in a sort of interest that's there. And it's like trying to understand that. And I find that sometimes, and I like kind of what you were saying earlier about celebrating sort of the folks that are here. I find that certain places and certain groups they rather try to do the crossover, more global appeal or more national appeal and bring those folks here while not celebrating the folks who are actually boots on the ground and crushing it that are already here.
Yeah, you bring up so many good points. Well, shout out to the Orioles. That City Connect fabric, the neighborhood design, I am completely in love with it. I mean, I liked them when they were bad too. I think I recorded every game and at least check in once a day, no matter how. So I'm just fired up for them right now. And, it is about celebrating the people of Baltimore. This is a great town. And we making films, I was traveling around the country, the world. And I hate that feeling of having to make an excuse for where you live. We got to stop making excuses, and we got to be proud. This town is amazing. It has challenges, but every town has challenges. But I think the positives way outweigh the negatives, and that's really why I'm so excited to be at Baltimore Office of Promotion of the Arts, is because that's the ultimate goal, is to scream and shout from the rooftop about Baltimore's pride.
Yeah, that's what this podcast has been about. Like, it started off, someone that is no longer in a position of power said something very ill about Baltimore, and I got activated, and I felt there was a lot of kind of he's right. It's like, no, he's not. Let's not let people just talk ill of our city, because it's not about the city per se. It's about the people that are in it, all of these sort of creative folks, all of the moms, the dads, the kids, all of these different things, and really having sort of that pride to do it, but to do it and to really speak towards like really what happens here, sharing sort of that truth of what happens here. And I think bringing back and having, events, cultural events, arts oriented events really highlights the city in that way. And, Artscape being back is super important towards that goal.
Yeah, it really is. And Artscape is diverse. It feels like Baltimore. It's all different types of people just enjoying the best the city has to offer.
Yeah, it's quirky, all of the things, all of the things.
Great weirdness.
So I got sort of like, you already answered sort of my last question related to Station North, but I guess I'll throw another one in. Any of the installations that you can speak of, or experiences that you can speak of that just come top of mind or what have you? Again, I know there's a million things happening and moving around, but
on the corner of 20th and Charles, an old gas station. I mean, it is a massive mural project that has gone up over the last 3 weeks, and you can just watch the community change like before your eyes as it's transformed this gas station. And so it just brought people out. We're like gravitated. You're drawn to it, and you want to be a part of it. And so that really stands out to me. I'm so excited for the park that's going in, but to see what's like just the buzz around the community as that's gone in is palpable.
Yeah, I mean, that area, when I start thinking of where I sort of get my creative energy from, it's definitely in that area. And as I said earlier, spending a fair amount of time like in Station North and seeing that there is attention that's there, whether it's, going to any of the events that were, connected to Artscape, or any of the events that were pride oriented or what have you. It's like, you're going to see something. It's going to be like great over here. And the other cool thing about it, and I've said this a lot, is that area, just if you stretch it out, that area is sort of the entry point, one of the main entry points into the city. People think it's really downtown. No. It's right there. It's right there, smack dab in the center of the city, in the sort of arts district, whether it's between Station North and Bromo Seltzer Arts District, all of that. That's where people can come in, whether it's via train, whether it's via car, and check it out. So having that attention there and something going on that shows a nice cross section of what the city has to offer, huge.
Yeah, really huge. I mean, I'm excited. The Parkway, we're going to reactivate it for the weekend and have a youth film festival with wide angle youth media at Hopkins and Micah. So, I mean, I love that building. We got to, I'm excited to get it activated again, because that should be the cultural kind of hub that is the anchor to that neighborhood. And I do love film, so I'm personally want to get that going again.
Well, now we're at this sort of last stage, right, of the pod here. I want to ask you some rapid fire questions. Yep. You just added one to your rapid fire question. So, don't overthink them. They're regular questions, but they let folks peek behind the curtain, the Freddie Mercury-esque curtain that is Todd Yuhanick. So, here is the first one. What is your favorite place to grab a bite in Baltimore?
Peter's Inn, probably.
Okay. Any particular thing you like to have there?
I mean, the Caesar salad is so spicy somehow. It's so garlicky. The steak. I mean, yeah, the potatoes with my wife and I were just talking about it the other night. Just old institution that just feels right.
Steak and potato guy. I like it. What is your favorite color?
Navy blue.
Okay. What was the last film you watched? That was the one I just added because you doubled down on the film thing.
The last film I watched, I was watching. That's a hard one. Oh, I just watched the mayor's film at the premiere at the Body Politic.
You were at New Next?
Yep.
Nice. I was there for I interviewed the folks from Carpet Cowboys, and I introduced the one of the shorts programs, which
nice.
It was nerve-wracking.
Proud of them. They did such a good job. I mean, turnout was great. I thought film selection was awesome. Sam did it. Bravo to them. I'm really proud.
They crushed it. This is the last one I got for you. And this is the one that is the sort of buttoning everything up. In one word, describe the Baltimore art scene.
Vibrant.
You get it. So with that, I want to thank you for coming on to the podcast and spending some time with me to talk about Artscape and a bit about your background. And I want to give you these final moments here to share anything that you want to share. Last second pitches, social media, websites, all of that good stuff. The floor is yours.
Really excited for Artscape. Please come out the 22nd to the 24th. It's back, and we want Baltimore to enjoy it. This is not our festival. This is your festival, and it only happens with everybody coming out and making it the best it can be. Artscape.org, I believe. You just Google things now, and they all pop up. I don't know.
And there you have it, folks. I want to again thank Todd Yuhanick from Baltimore Office of Promotion and the Arts, BOPA, for coming on and speaking a bit about Artscape and a bit about his career and his story. And I'm Rob Lee, saying that there's art, culture, and community in and around Baltimore. You've just got to look for it.